I saw that you were doing flips in jeans. Like you were just like in jeans doing flips. I mean, how hard is that? That's pretty hard. I can't do flips. So
They're special stretchy jeans. I'd wear them if they were real.
yeah, I was
But yeah.
I was watching you in jeans, and you land in the grass without twisting any ankles, without doing anything. So I was very impressed. But we met years ago. I think it was about 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And we found out about you because it was like everywhere. You were on the news. Everybody in the circuit was talking about you. The people that were the veterans that were talking about you, they were like, this girl, you need to get to know this girl. And I, of course, me and Andres is the promoter of QCV Promotions. We had this show coming up, and we decided to have you come in and entertain us with one of your best routines. And you killed it. And you were only 16, right?
Yeah. That was right after my pro card.
Right after, yeah,
Yeah.
right after you
That
had your
was
pro
one of my,
card.
yeah,
How
that was the Hunger Games routine.
how do you feel going on that stage? How did you feel to be presented not as a competitor, but as someone that has changed? Like you did something that unless a 15-year-old is going to come along and do it, no one else is
Yeah.
going to do it, right? And how did you feel because you weren't competing that night? You were actually doing your act. It was like you were the performer. What was the
Yeah.
difference in that?
It was more fun, absolutely, because I wasn't worried about, being judged. It was also my last time performing that routine, so that was definitely one of my favorite routines, the Hunger Games. But it was just more special because you're performing. You're like entertaining people. It's not about, competing.
Correct. There's a huge difference between competing and just performing, right? So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about those two. It was about a year or 2 years that you had some family stuff that was going on. And when I heard about it and I spoke with your mom and I heard about your grandfather, I was like, how is this 16-year-old dealing with these things? I mean, someone that's older, knowing when my parents got sick or something, it
Yeah.
was like, for me, it was the worst thing. I dealt with cancer myself, and that was okay because it was me. But if it was my mom or my dad, it was a different story. So tell me a little bit about that season of your life.
And it wasn't fun. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, watching my mom get through that, it definitely, it just shows like how strong people are in that sense. And it was probably about 3, 4 years that she went through that. It was numerous surgeries that she had to go through, and I was young, so I didn't really realize what was happening. But I just, I saw that she wasn't able to go out with us all the time. She's in a wheelchair, and she ended up getting the amputation. But after that, that's when things started going back to normal. She was able to walk again and do her thing. But people have stories, and it's cool to like when I saw your story. And I remember I commented and I said like how amazing it was that you beat cancer twice. And then I told you a little bit about myself and my mom and my grandfather. So everybody has a story. It's just,
Well,
I don't know.
in the same way, like I share mine, that's the reason that I always said to you, you created a platform because you were on television, people were interviewing you, and they were interviewing your parents and getting to know a little bit more about their story because that was the thing that for me was shocking because as an athlete it's one thing, right? You get to focus on you and you put all your energy on that. But
Yeah.
when you have your family, your mom going through something like she's on a wheelchair, then she has to have an amputation. Your grandfather, your grandfather had surgery, right?
Yeah, heart transplant.
Heart transplant. So that's not
Yeah.
easy either. And
No.
you're very close to him. I know you are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the thing for me is like, for me, from a spiritual point of view, from a faith point of view, is like, where did you find your strength to block it out? Because I know you dedicated everything to them. It's like, if they can go through that, I can go through that.
Yeah.
But as a 16-year-old, it's a little bit different than someone that's already gone through life experience.
I mean, my mom and dad, like, they never let it affect us in that sense. Like, my mom was sick, but my dad always did stuff with us, and it was always with my grandparents. So when my grandfather got sick, my mom went up, I was with my dad. So it was almost like they made it work. It never really affected me in that sense. And I mean, obviously it was hard to go through, but like we got through it. It is what it is.
And how much of that in your fitness? How much did that go into your fitness when you were performing?
Once my mom got home from her amputation and she was healed and she got fit for a prosthetic, she wanted to start going to the gym. So there was a gym near us. It's called Grand Island. Dave Marinelli, I work with him now, but he owned the gym at the time. And she started going there. She worked with a trainer. And that was like the first time I've ever been to the gym. I was actually 12, so I wasn't allowed to work out at the time. So after I turned 13 was when I started working out. But I remember going with her, and I would help her like with some of the exercises. And at the time, I was just finishing up with gymnastics. I fractured my ankle, and I knew it wasn't something I'd want to continue with. My injury was bad. So I started working out, and my dad would teach me the different machines. There's so many machines to, but he helped me come up with a plan, so that way I was working different muscle groups, and it was just so interesting. Like it's so different from gymnastics. In that sense, it's more conditioning. I always liked the conditioning part in gymnastics. My strength was floor and a lot of conditioning. So I used to look forward to the gym, and it's funny. It's girls my age. The gym isn't one of the things that they like to do. But
So your mom goes to the gym, works out. You end up going with them to help her probably, and then your father teaches you about lifting weights. And so imagine that. So someone that's going through an amputation, someone that's going through surgery, and then you as a teenager, just 13 years old, start working out. When did you find out that you had some skills that you're like, okay, I'm going to take this to be an athlete?
well, I was so focused on gymnastics, and I never thought I'd ever like something more than gymnastics. And I remember when I started working out with my dad, and he was showing me how to make a plan. Like, okay, one day we're going to do shoulders. One day we're going to do, he came up with, for a beginner, obviously, so it was pretty spaced out with the muscle groups. And I just remember, being like, wow, this is really cool. I don't know, maybe this is something I want to do. And then I saw this woman walk by, and it was Amanda Marinelli, so Dave's wife at the time. And I remember seeing her, bringing these women into the aerobics room. And they were, all dressed up in these, blinged out bikinis. And they were wearing heels. I'm like, what is that? That's
It's a fashion show.
Yeah. So I remember, I'm just like, what is that? So my mom and dad took me over to meet her, and she told me that, oh, it's fitness. And then I told her about how I did gymnastics, and she said, maybe this would be something that you would like to do. There's this category called fitness, so you do a 2-minute routine. I wasn't big on the bikini, the posing part. That was probably the worst thing for me. I mean, it's still, but at the time, being 13, putting on a bikini and getting up on stage wasn't really my favorite. But that routine part where you can get creative and come up with a theme. So my first theme, I ended up doing a lollipop theme. It was kind of like my ode to candy. Because, you have to eat clean when you compete.
Well, and you're 13. I mean, what else? You're gonna do things that you're passionate about, that you think they're fun. If they're not fun, you're not gonna do them at 13 or 14.
No, but it was fun because I got to, come up with this cool theme. But I remember, she told me, okay, you know what, let's meet up and I'll explain what fitness is. And she gave me this video to take home and to watch it. And it was all fitness routines and a competition. And I remember watching, these women are amazing. And that is so cool. They're doing gymnastics. It was cool because, when you get to a certain age of gymnastics, it's not something you can do forever. And I was old. I was 13. I was at the point where I had a few years left, and then I had to, find something else or move on. With fitness, you can do it until you're in your 40s. I mean, Adela Garcia now, she's coming back.
Yeah.
She's a fitness Olympian. She's amazing. But I remember watching these videos, and right away I followed everyone on Instagram, Facebook, and it was just a lot of fun. So I remember I went back there and I said, yeah, I want to try it. So she came up with this, I'm not going to call it a diet. It was a lifestyle plan, because if you call it a diet, it's not.
I get it.
It was a healthy lifestyle plan. So she told me, start eating grilled chicken, take away some of the sugars, don't have all the processed carbs. And honestly, that's the reason why I started it, because I wanted to be healthy. It wasn't so much about, I wanted to gaining muscle and all that stuff, but I wanted to do it healthy. And that's one of the things, like she showed me how to eat healthy. And
Well,
she always told me, if you're not having fun, it's not for you.
correct. And that's for everybody. That's not just for a teenager. That's for everybody. You got to have fun. You got to figure it out. So, when it comes to you, I look at someone that at a very young age went to the top of the industry, especially in fitness. I mean, you became a star overnight and you handled it very well. I met you. We asked you to come and do a performance. You killed it. You were very humble. And the biggest thing for me that touched my heart was the relationship between your mother and you and your grandfather. That was what really touched me, because I remember being a kid and a teenager. I lost my grandparents, and I was like, wow, she is so focused on this. And something told me that you basically use this. I feel like you probably use this, the physical attribute to it, the training, the focusing on that. So it helped you throughout any of the other stuff that was happening at home. And that's kind of what I took from that. So for me, it was really good, because I know a lot of girls were looking up to you. I know a lot of women were looking up to you, because how is she able to do these things while her home life, these are things that are happening that are real, right? Illness is real. And you're doing it to become healthy. You're doing it to, to kind of just do something that's taking your mind maybe away from that. What dreams now does a girl like you have? What does Nicole think about now? What are these dreams that you have now after you've accomplished so much at such a young age?
Definitely school. I was thinking about physical therapy. I remember when I was on stage and you asked me that question, and I said at the time physical therapy. So that happened.
So it's still there. Okay, good.
I just finished up my associate's degree, so this semester. So I'll be continuing with my anatomy courses and all of that. So I know that's going to be that's about a 6-year program right there.
It's a process, but one thing I always tell trainers or anyone that's in the industry is that you're literally being entrusted with someone's life when you're a trainer or a coach or a physical therapist. People don't understand that it's a huge responsibility. That's why I've been a trainer since I was 18 years old, so I've trained and coached. But you are entrusted with someone's livelihood, and you know that watching your mom and watching your dad and watching your grandfather and even you understand that at any moment you can get injured, and there goes your life. So I know you're going to be great at it, and I hope that in the fitness industry, I don't know what your future is going to, if you're going to continue to compete or not, but I feel like you certainly have a future in that. But you're still an athlete, Nicole. I wanted to make sure I let you know that. You're still an athlete no matter what. And what you've accomplished already just shows you what you can accomplish at any age. And I really believe, like I told you on stage, you're going to inspire so many young ladies, especially in junior high and high school. And I always say, I think I even told you, get ready to be a speaker. It's okay, but you're doing it really well. And this was not rehearsed. We went at it. I just wanted to have her on a show. Well, and finally, I always ask this to all my guests, what is a word, Nicole, that gives you strength, that gives you hope, that just, drives you? And tell me the meaning of that word to you, because we're living in a time right now where people are losing hope, right? Yeah. People are not doing well with what's going on in the world right now. And I hope that listening to you and people looking at her story, I hope that when you see her story, you get to see all the things. I mean, we're just giving you like the kind of like the cover of the story, but the story really is touching. The videos I remember seeing were touching, and because it really is a lot of mental strength and spiritual strength. So what is a word that you just like, this is your word, this is your like, this is the thing you live by, because I want to share that word with everyone today.
It's gonna sound weird, but like mine has always been can. Because you know how you always get people out there who want to doubt you and tell you, you can't do this, or you can't. I mean, I heard that with my mom and dad, and my mom, my grandfather. With my mom when she lost her leg, they said, oh, you can't do certain things now, you're not going to be the same after this, and all this stuff. But she overcame that, and she said, like, that's not going to be me, you know. With my grandfather, when he had his heart transplant, they said, like, you can't do certain things. They got over it, and that was cool to see. But same thing with me, too. Like, you'll get people that tell you, oh, you're not going to be the youngest fitness pro. Oh, you're not even going to be a pro. Or, you know, my goal was never to be the youngest. I mean, it was more just, I want to be a pro. Like, I want to be like these other women. And to have that title made it even more special. But that, you know, you always get people that doubt you and tell you, but that's not always true with everybody. Because you get a lot of nice people. I get a lot of nice messages and a lot of positive people. But, you know, it's always been the one word to push me. So
Well,
whenever I hear can, it's always like, well, I'm going to do it.
well, I certainly can relate to that. And I want to thank Nicole for her word can't. Her word can't. And you know what's interesting? I relate to that because I was told I wasn't going to live. I was told that I had 3 days to live. And multiple times during my chemos, I was told that I wasn't going to make it, that I wouldn't leave my apartment, that I probably wouldn't even get back to the hospital. Then I go through a 12-hour surgery, but before the surgery, they said I might not survive. So can't is a word that I used a lot in terms of trying to motivate me to prove people wrong. I didn't have to do it. I counted on God to prove everybody wrong. But I watched Nicole and I got to hear her story. And it was exciting for me that the promoter of the show decided that he wanted her to perform. And for me, I just wanted to tell her story. I knew she was going to perform because I already seen the videos. But the one thing that I think surprised her was all I cared about was sharing her story about her mom and her grandfather and how her dad at the gym taught her how to train and how a coach found a woman, a young lady at the time, and said, you could do this. Now, Nicole is probably just starting her life right now. She's going into her 20s. And yes, we can look at her and say, well, you're very young. But see, at a young age, I was told I couldn't do a lot of things. And at 22, I was already running health clubs. And by 25, I was running multiple health clubs. And my whole life, I was told, hey, you can't do this, you're not that. So when I went through cancer, all I had to do was go back to my past and look at how many things I've already accomplished. And on that note, I know that Nicole is probably going to be facing a lot of challenges in her life. Why? Because she's got everything inside of her to battle them. And she's only going to grow like in college. We go to college to grow, right? To learn and to become better. And that is life. Life is just a college that you just continue to graduate every year. So I pray for Nicole because I know that she's going to have to battle some things. But she's going to look back at 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and even 19 or 20. And she's going to look at everything she's already accomplished and says, I did it then, I can do it again. But that strength came from watching her mom and her grandfather go through illnesses. And she didn't know what it was about, but she still got a chance to do amazing things through that challenge. I hope that this interview gives you some kind of hope that no matter what you're facing in life, can't is not something that should stop you. It should be something that drives you. Well, I want to thank Nicole again for can't and for this time with you, Nicole. It's a pleasure seeing you. May God continue to bless you. You're awesome, like I told you years ago when I met you. And you have a big brother here always, always, if you ever need anything, here for you. Well, I'll leave you guys like I always say. Find hope, have faith, and live every day with